And welcome back to Season 4 of Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. And I am your host, Kofi Outlaw. Today I'm excited because we got a crack team with me here to help me do a crack show full of good media goodness.
Full of crack.
I didn't think about phrasing it. But yeah, either way you want to take it. That's
well done. Well done, Janelle.
Welcome to Comic Book Nation, Season 4, the crack era. But yeah, I'm going to get a call from Viacom Legal.
Jesus. All right.
But anyway, in with me for this little rendition of The Wire is none other than Matthew Aguilar.
You're welcome.
Oh my God! You're not helping the crack.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're really
that
not
was when
helping
Kanye
the crack
was cool
comments.
and not, you know.
Oh man. Okay, so moving on. So Janelle Wheeler's here with us.
Hi, everybody. I'm really happy to be here.
We are very excited to. This is not making our show look good. You're just going to be glad you landed on this other show. From Phase Zero, our Marvel podcast. One of the main host of that show, Jenna Anderson, is with us today.
Hello, everybody. I'm excited to talk about Snowflame, the cocaine superhero or supervillain of DC Comics. Yeah.
Way to bring
Obviously,
this all
I guess
back
that's what
around.
we're doing here. So, but no, happy to be here.
Yeah. See, we needed somebody from the Happy Show to help save this show from its own tendencies. But Jenna's here because she's actually defecting from the Marvel side today for maybe in part just for a little DC rundown, because she is also one of our biggest kind of DC comics and media people on Comicbook.com, along with Nicole Drum, who was just with us a couple of episodes ago. And so Jenna was the person who stepped into the breach for us to see this new Peacemaker series on HBO Max before the rest of us. She got to check it out and do the review for Comicbook.com, which you guys should check out on Comicbook.com DC or Comicbook.com TV or any one of those channels. And she got to talk with the cast and crew of Peacemaker. So we will be showing you some of her kind of adventures doing that as she chatted with director James Gunn. We're going to get to that in a bit. But first, Jenna, let's give you the floor. Take a big gulp of water because we need you to tell us what's up with this new Peacemaker TV series.
Do you just mean like in terms of quality or in terms of like where it's set? Like what do you mean?
However you want to tee up this series and your coverage of it. It's really your bag at this point.
So the show is set after the events of the Suicide Squad. It deals with Christopher Smith, aka Peacemaker, played by John Cena, as he was in the hospital at the end of the Suicide Squad, almost on the brink of death, and now he's better and trying to figure out kind of what his path is forward. And so the show deals with him and a new task force of people and a new sort of a new mystery that they have to solve that goes into very James Gunn territory over the course of the show. If you have read my review, I think the show is just so delightful. I think it really gets the kind of essence of the weirdest aspects of DC Comics, which is like you can tell a story about a superhero who is not necessarily an A-lister or even a B-lister, but you can make it feel complete, and you can make their acknowledgement of the larger DC universe almost enhances the larger universe. Like the jokes that they make about Aquaman and other superheroes across the show only make it feel like a more comprehensive universe in its own little weird way. So I love the show. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think about it, because I've seen the first 7 episodes, so I'm going to have to make sure I don't accidentally spoil things.
Whoa.
But I think the show is just so much fun, and I'm so happy that it's out in the world now.
Wow. Okay. So yes,
VIP.
you have that Brandon Davis level of knowledge of what's going on and what reality are you in, with the one where us norms don't know. But yes, the first 3 episodes are now out on HBO Max. Peacemaker. And if you're watching the show right now, you'll see Richard's in the back handy with our hashtag Peacemaker Party hashtag. If you want to go to that hashtag, comicbook.com's Brandon Davis actually hosted a watch party for the first 3 episodes of Peacemaker, which included James Gunn and other people jumping in to get in on the fun. And there's a lot of fun tidbits in those chat threads that you should absolutely check out, and we'll be talking about. And we've already done some stuff about, Gunn revealing like deleted scenes from the Suicide Squad that he remixed in the Peacemaker, things like that. So check out the hashtag Peacemaker Party on the socials, on Twitter, to kind of catch up with everything we put together for our Peacemaker
Party.
Party.
I think they're doing it tonight too, right?
They are. Yeah.
They did the first episode last night.
Okay, good. Wow.
And then the other 2 tonight with
I'm
James
glad
Gunn taking
somebody's
over
here.
DC. Hey, I have a role.
Yeah, somebody's here to promote comic book stuff. One of our contract employees doing well.
Janelle's
in
killing
comic
it
book,
today.
yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So that's
All
a
the
good
crap.
segue. So in addition, like I said, James Gunn was involved in he'll be stepping in for that. But Jenna also got to sit down and talk with James Gunn himself. So why don't we give people a taste of what that was like? Richard.
Many things I love about Peacemaker is how it deals with the kind of complicated aspects of masculinity. It's something that's always kind of been in the subtext of superhero media, but what made you want to put it at the forefront of his story in such a powerful way?
I think that, I didn't go out to say I want to tell a story about toxic masculinity, just like I didn't do that in my other movies a little bit more so in Suicide Squad, actually. That was sort of in the forefront of my brain, at the end of the movie, you see the character that's the masculine character saves the day by becoming completely vulnerable with Ratcatcher. So it's always a part of the stuff I do. But I think that for me, really, it was about Peacemaker's political belief system. And some of the masculinity issues are part and parcel with that. And it was about having somebody like Peacemaker, who has this umbrella of beliefs over him and believes everything he reads on the internet. And then having Leota Adebayo, played by Daniel Brooks, who has a completely different way of looking at the world. And yet somehow they find something in each other that is common and actually really love each other. And that relationship to me is a central love story. It's not romantic. It's not sexual. It's just about, two people who can see beyond the exterior of what people are to who they really are as human beings. And it is that understanding and that compassion that I think allows for change in this world. And I think that it's something that is not given out very easily. We aren't very generous, especially on social media. And generosity is something that we could all use a little bit more of, including me.
I love that. So as a DC fan, there are some name drops and references across the show that blew my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you found a way to work these in here. What was the decision process behind some of the characters you chose to name drop? Because they feel very intentional and they're not always associated with Peacemaker's world.
It's almost like playing a massive prank on the DCEU to make Batmite canon. I think I can't say there was some big thought process to it. I'm writing and these things come up and then I just sort of go with them. I do think that Peacemaker's relationship to other superheroes is very specific. He is envious. He wants to be in that holy trinity of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. He is not. He wants to be a member of the Justice League, and they would never let him into the Justice League. And he wishes that people loved him as much as they love Aquaman, but they don't. So he believes anything, picks out what he wants to believe on the internet, which what any random Joe has tweeted or put on. He also doesn't quite understand the internet. He's not very well versed in the internet, and so he sees something on Facebook and somehow he thinks that's fact. Mm-hmm. But I think that it also serves his envy to believe these things about people.
I personally, the Matter Eater lad reference just made my entire week.
Yeah.
That was spectacular. Thank you so much, James, for taking the time to talk to me, and congrats on the show. This was such a joy to get to chat with you.
Thanks, Jenna. Take care.
Whoa! Jenna got to break it down with James Gunn, as you saw right there. Was that your first time talking to him?
It was. I could have asked him hours worth of questions, just about the show itself and then Squad and everything else. It's I'm so happy with what we did get to chat about because he is just so insightful with so many different things, as you saw there.
He's definitely one of those people we'd love to land for an hour-long discussion because he literally talked. And I'm not saying this out at all a bad way. He loves to talk in the best kind of way because he's so enthusiastic and he offers you rich, and he's a great storyteller. So yeah, we're going to keep fishing for that big James Gunn interview. If James Gunn, you happen to see this, can we talk to you for an hour? Anywhere you want here, Phase Zero. We can purpose everything here. So, doesn't matter where you go. But let's talk Peacemaker. Now that we've kind of got an introduction, we can jump into some spoilers about Peacemaker. So we're going to talk Peacemaker spoilers now. I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed the premiere episode. yeah, the premiere episode was surprisingly enjoyable, and it was like I was like, okay, this is okay until you get to the finale of that premiere, and then you're like, okay, now it goes full James Gunn, like about the point that John Cena stripping down and having that crazy. Not even like explicit. I like sex scenes today because we've gotten to a point of sex scenes where they're just like so meta that it's like hilariously awkward to like see John Cena doing this. But from that point on, like this episode, like it just goes crazy into that fight sequence, which is everything you expect from James Gunn. It's like funny, it's like horrifying, and it's like genuinely thrilling because you're just like, how is Peacemaker going to get out of this? Like this doesn't look very good. And then the over the top, of course, ending of just making the sonic boom from his helmet, like just a great kickoff. And after that, I definitely was sitting up and paying more attention. But I think it really shined for me in the second episode because they went the kind of Breaking Bad route of having to deal with the immediate problem of like the destruction and murder you cause, which if you've ever watched Breaking Bad is the second episode is, the first episode is getting out of this dangerous situation. And the second episode is how do we clean this up? And that's essentially what like Peacemaker does. But it really did it that well, just in the span of an apartment building and John Cena trying to get out of this apartment building and down to the floor and get away before the cops come and cover his tracks was a whole episode. And when they made that entertaining, I was like, okay, I'm really in. Like, I'm in for real now because, yeah. And like I think you said, Jenna, like just the way it plays with DC lore without being heavy-handed, but doing heavy things like revealing, Danielle Brooks is Amanda Waller's daughter in this. And it's just like, okay, that's a thing, but like it's not an overpowering dramatic thing, but it's an important thing, right? Cena really kills this and just is carrying a lot of this show. But Harcourt, the actress who plays Harcourt, is really good in it too. Danielle Brooks is good, and I think we can all agree that I think Jenna, you said at a certain point, like the guy who plays like Vigilante is just really great too. So I think Peacemaker is a good sign, and I will come back to this later of how DC is going to do very well in 2022 in terms of kind of synergizing their universe fully in its kind of full potential through these films into HBO Max series and back and forth. So very happy, Peacemaker. Watch that.
Janelle, what do you think?
Oh gosh, I was just eating this up. It just felt so perfectly aligned with Suicide Squad. And if you were a big fan of that film, like you're gonna love this too. I am not a big fan of John Cena in general. Like I watched way too many of episodes of Total Bellas.
Whoa!
And they portrayed him as just like a crazy controlling like dad figure. This character could be like, it couldn't be any more different than that, reality TV portrayal of him. And I luckily did not get caught up in like, oh my gosh, it's John Cena. It's Peacemaker. Like he is Peacemaker to me. And I just want like shout out to John Cena because he took on that role. He committed fully. The man can't dance, but he's trying his best in those opening scene, like in that sequence, he's trying so hard to be on beat. And I was just blown away. Like, this is what I need for a TV show for content. It's adult content. It's got that Guardians like humor. It's funny. It's cheeky. It's gory. It's everything that I want. I'm tired of the Dark Titans shows. I'm done with the like Umbrella Academy like weird stuff. this is hitting all the right notes for me. I'm pumped. Like I cannot wait to watch more. I wish I was Jenna and I saw all 7 episodes.
Can we just address that we learned so much about Janelle in that, like, I didn't know you watched the Bellas reality show. I learned so much.
Divas and Bellas. That's how I got into wrestling.
Okay, well, we have a lot to talk about. All right, we have a lot to talk about. For me, I agree with you as far as like Cena is so good at comedy, like just in general. Like he's killed it in almost every single comedic role he's had, whether they're little bit parts or whether they're big ones like this. Like I love Vacation Friends. Like he's like amazing in that movie. So like I was very excited for him here. I did not like this premiere. That premiere episode, like I got through 75% of that episode and went, I don't like the show. Like I really don't like this show. No one aside from Cena up to a certain point in the episode is likable at all. And so Cena is likable, but as Jenna kind of touched on with like James, which is surreal to say. That sentence alone, right? That's just surreal to say. As she touched upon in the interview, though, he also has his issues, right? Like that whole sweet cheeks moment, like all those things that like pop up, that whole conversation at the bar, which by the way are also some of the like show's best moments, is when Peacemaker is talking to one other person and the facade drops a little. Those are the best moments of the show. Like when he's talking to Leota at the car, like that's a great moment. When he's talking to Harcourt at the bar, like there's some really great stuff there. And then as you go on to like episodes 2 and 3, like, but everyone else like is very unlikable. It's just, and like it's hard to latch on to somebody. And also like that first episode delves into a lot to like Peacemaker's like relationship with like Vigilante and like some of the other stuff. And just, that stuff was just not clicking for me. And like some of the stuff with his dad too. Like there's not a lot of likable people in this show. And so it's hard until you get to like episode 2 and 3 to really start to like get a feel for, okay, like some of these people actually have some depth. Some of them don't so far still. So I'm very curious to see like Jenna's scene further on. And so like part of this team, I could just like wipe off the show and be okay with. And I am curious to see if like their arcs start to kind of fill in, because you know, like there's maybe also too, it's because I read a lot of Suicide Squad. Like I read a lot of Suicide Squad. I watch a lot of stuff, right? Like the comics, I've actually been really enjoying this latest run of the comics, but like I'm over anything Waller. Like I'm so like over anything Waller, and like just even the concept, like when they're talking about the chip in his head, so over that, like just being hung over someone's head. Like I just get a lot of it. And so I'm just kind of like I'm done, which is like people being controlled in that way and stuff like that. It's just that premise that just kind of I'm done. So I am actually happy that like Peacemaker's leaning a little more away from that. Like they touch on that, but it's not a focal point. I ended up like by episode 3, I'm enjoying more of it than I don't enjoy. But I still wouldn't say like this is a show that I'm just like dying to see every week. I hope that changes as we move forward through the show. But for me, it just didn't click with me like everybody else. I know I'm the outlier, that's fine. But but like I don't know.
I don't think the comments are with you in large part. I think the comments have turned against you. I haven't seen DC people turn against you this bad since the Wonder Woman
I'm
incident.
used to it. I'm used to it.
The infamous world-spanning Wonder Woman. If you don't know, personal history, Matt once broke the entire world from the comic book office with a Wonder Woman article. He nearly started World War III.
And Kobe reminds me of it every year. And he started early this year because we haven't even got through the first month of the year. And he's totally
part of my assignment on this podcast is to keep you close so you do not start World War III.
That's fair.
Because it came close. It came to the brink. You had the Middle East unsettled in a way I've never seen. Sure. It was crazy. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's the point. That's the point. Say that it's true because I'm not exaggerating.
No.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get into that story later. That's on the that's under the paywall. All right. So back to Peacemaker. I get it. I think I'm with some of the commenters that I'm of the opinion. I often now like reading or experiencing stories about unlikable people. I find them more interesting than likable people. And I think James Gunn is good at showing us, you know, the moments where unlikable people do have to reveal, like there's a cost to that, and there's a personal cost and an emotional cost. And like a lot of people resonate with the scene in Peacemaker in his trailer crying to himself about how he really feels about himself. It hits a lot of people hard. So a lot of people who, and about his dad and all the stuff, you know, people who understand that veneer of braggadocio and machismo and all that stuff that, you know, there's always a hurt little boy underneath that. As somebody who's in the middle age right now and trying to raise a little boy and deal with an aging father and deal with myself, you know, these are all very timely themes for me. Yeah. So my box,
I hate machismo. Maybe that's why it doesn't resonate.
But I think that the story holds them accountable, so I don't find it bad. Or maybe I've just been doing this Succession binge lately, and now I'm just like, that's just where my head's at. But I didn't find that to be a problem. I actually like these kind of dysfunctional people trying to work together in their dysfunctional way, and that's what I liked about that whole sniper kind of episode sequence with the family. And them trying to pull off this mission, and then like how badly it goes and how sloppy it is. But that's just me. All in all, I mean, think it was a I'm digging Peacemaker, and I'm not saying this to be inflammatory or because it's the theme of our Marvel versus DC show, but I feel like I would gravitate towards this to rewatch it more than I would about 60% of the Disney Plus Marvel shows, or we'll throw Star Wars in there too. Like I would watch this again just because of the humor, the kind of heart, and just the James Gunn liveliness of it, and why I watch Suicide Squad. But that's my cup of tea. To each their own, you know.
I will say, like, I rewatched episode 1 for the first time last night, like since watching it the first time around, and the jokes land so much more. Like, it only gets so much more delightful, like upon rewatching it. So I totally agree in that regard.
All right, I think we've mined this for as much as we possibly can, right? So we're gonna move on, and I'm gonna just do before our break a quick kind of review. Did Jenna? I haven't asked you. Did you see Scream yet?
I have not. I've not
Okay.
seen a single Scream, so I'm just
okay.
along
That's
for the
good.
ride.
I'm with Jenna.
No, it's okay. So this is just me. The new Scream is out this week. I had a chance to take it in and check it out. And what I'll kind of come back and say is that I thought this was a kind of really B+ to A- attempt at a requel. This was done by Radio Silence, the guys who came out of that whole collaborative ensemble of people who did the VHS anthologies. If you guys remember those horror anthologies from the 2010s, they did that. And so Radio Silence has been kind of building up. They did Ready or Not, and they're kind of looking up. I believe they did Ready or Not, and they're kind of looking up to kind of do something mainstream. And this was their opportunity, and they do pretty well. This Scream kind of honors Wes Craven's original intent for the Scream franchise, which is to be a slasher film that's also a meta commentary on the horror genre. Scream 2022 does that very well by kind of encapsulating everything that horror has been through since Scream was in its heyday, and even making fun of how Scream kind of faltered in the last few years itself as a franchise. I mean, there's just commentary on like elevated horror, like, you know, and they name drop a lot of films in this, but like elevated horror that has to do with like, you know, life and parenting and the things that get acclaim and Oscar nominations now versus old slasher things. They take on the whole idea of what a requel is while making this very much a requel and following all those rules about like, you got to have like the old characters kind of, but also new characters and all this stuff and the rules. And it's brutal. Like Radio Silence is good at taking what Scream did with like 90s slashers things and adding just a little bit of that torture porn element to it to make it kind of a little bit more grisly, so that the kills, they take long and they're brutal and you feel for the people in each sequence, and each sequence is pretty good. And technology, phones, all this modern stuff, they managed to navigate in a pretty good and compelling way. And of course, even throw in some surprise twists that widen the mythology of the original and do all that stuff. And they pull it off while being meta about it. And that's an impressive feat. So hats off to them. And the cast is good. The kind of new additions that they put in, you know, some of them are just cannon fodder and you might not remember them, but there's a lot of young faces here, like Cuba's son, Mason Gooding, and, you know, other people in it who really do kind of make their characters lively and more than just generic things, because that's modern times. And so they have to do like very modern kids. And so they do all that and kind of nail that as well, while also making fun of it. And so this is probably one of the better modern kind of requels in general, but horror requels, definitely. It's kind of up there with Halloween 2018 in terms of getting people who really understood the original franchise, know how to honor it in this new version, but still do kind of move us forward with something new. Also, there's a whole crazy, powerful meta thing about like getting the original stars back and what that means, and the whole Courtney Cox and David Arquette of it all. And there's a lot about it that is about, you know, what happened off screen in their lives as well as what happened at Scream. And they do a good job of weaving that all in. And so, and you get Sidney Prescott being a badass in some moments. So what's not to love, right? So that's Scream. Check it out. If you do not want to head to theaters now to see it, good news. You only got to wait 45 days. It'll be on Paramount Plus, where we are streaming as well. And, you know, all our other podcasts, or at least Phase Zero, you can catch Jenna streaming on Paramount Plus. So If you do not want to go to theaters right now because you're ducking that Omicron, don't worry. 45 days, Paramount Plus, Scream. It is worth checking out because I think, and I feel safe saying this, even in January, I think this will be one of the better horror and more fun horror movies we're going to get this year. So that is Scream 2022. Nobody saw it coming, just like Ghostface out of a closet. We never saw it coming, but here it is, and it's pretty good. So check it out.
What's your ranking, by the way? What's your new ranking? Consider, like, did this overtake any that would have surprised you, or is this kind of lower on the list
of Scream movies?
Yeah, Screams.
I mean, after one, it's easy to put it behind one. You know,
right? One is
a
classic.
Yeah, and then after that, they just got kind of crazy. Not that I didn't like seeing Mekhi Phifer and Jada Pinkett Smith get taken out in Scream 2 and all that.
Mekhi Phifer makes anything better.
Yeah, but by 3, it was just, I mean, that is true. He was in Dawn of the Dead, Zack Snyder. So, I mean, it's not a lie. So by the end, I mean, yeah, it's easy to put this behind one. Yeah. Stop. You're really derailing me.
I had that soundtrack. It was really good.
Oh my God. We all have the Soul Food soundtrack.
The soundtrack is dope, man.
It's that right next to my Waiting to Exhale soundtrack. Let's all
Drew Hill on it. That's awesome.
We are all going off the rails here. But yeah, so I put it behind Scream 1 because it is Scream again, but it does it for this modern age. And if you never saw Scream and you just got into it as a kid who grew up thinking you knew everything because you saw J-horror and some Oscar-winning horror stuff and all that stuff, this will remind you that sometimes all that great horror intellect is fun until you get stabbed through the face. All right, so that's Scream. We are going to take a break, but when we come back, we are going to get into our big debate about whether Marvel or DC is going to have the better year in 2022. It's going to be a free-for-all concept thing. We're going on all platforms, TV, movie, gaming, comics, and collectively, what do we think? And we will talk a little bit about the Book of Boba Fett and new comics this week because I got to go off on some Star Wars stuff. So stay tuned for all of that. Yeah, and we're back. That was an abrupt end. I feel like
Philby's face. Please, someone tell me you got a screenshot of that.
Somebody has.
New emote.
We're back. Comic Book Nation. We're back. Season 4, episode 2.
Oh my God.
Season 2 was worlds ago. All right. So season 4, episode 2. We are back. If you are just hopping on the stream or watching live now, we just did our whole breakdown of both the Peacemaker TV series and Scream 2022. We are moving on to our debate. Will Marvel or DC have the better year in 2022? We brought up this topic not as a serious intellectual thing, just because we like to fight sometimes and throw a grenade in the room. And this seemed like an easy pin to pull and just throw into the room. And so that's what we're doing. So get your arguments up. And if you are in the comments, get your debate arguments up. Why? I know a bunch of you want to jump in and say Marvel, but no, it's not going down like that. So I will step into the breach first, since I started all this, and say I have a complex answer to this question, surprisingly.
No.
I think it's going to be a combination of things. I think each company is going to take some decisive victories in 2022. Now, let me say what I mean by that. I think that Marvel is going to have overall the better stretch of movies in 2022 because they got some big hitters coming away. I mean, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness already feels like it's going to be a beast, right? So I'm not really trying to bet against that. Thor: Love and Thunder, not at all trying to bet against that because that already looks like it's going to be stacked and pretty crazy. And I forgot what's the third film coming out. I'm already blanking because of release dates.
Black Panther.
Black Panther. Whoa, that's coming out this year?
At this point, it's currently scheduled for this year. So we'll see at this point because who knows with the pandemic and everything.
Yeah, that's a big we'll see. Yeah, Phase Zero just did an excellent preview. We should cross plug. If you want to know what's going on with Marvel this year, Phase Zero has an entire 2022 Marvel preview. You guys that almost broke their brains. You guys can get into that. It's on this channel. You can watch it right after this. But yeah. So on the movie front, I think Marvel's mostly solid with just Thor and Doctor Strange being kind of heavy hitters. I mean, DC does have the Batman, which I think is.
I was going to say that's a pretty heavy hitter.
Yeah, that's a pretty heavy hitter. But that's the kind of one I'm weighting against the others because the others were what? Black Adam,
Aquaman 2, right?
Aquaman 2, and the Flash. Oh man, I'm reversing my answer. Spontaneous change. I was just thinking like Black Adam and things. I was more into TV for this for some reason, but no, I'm spontaneously changing my answer. DC crushing it. Movies. Sorry, Marvel. All you got is Doctor Strange and Thor and maybe Black Panther. I don't even know what's going on with that. And
how dare you, Blobruski? How dare you? Aquaman was not boring. It was a classic.
No, I mean, Aquaman has grown on me actually since
it was not
time
a classic.
Has gone.
Obviously,
it's not a classic, but it has grown on me.
It has an octopus playing the drums. What more could you want?
I love that movie. Yeah, it was not. It was not a classic.
It had Pitbull singing Africa over the Sahara. You know.
I think it did. Did anyone actually come around to that though? I don't know that one. I don't know if that's a positive.
No, that's not a positive.
I loved that just ironically from the second it started being in the movie. So I don't know.
Yeah, so Batman is Batman looks so sick already. I saw that when I went to see Scream last night. I saw that trailer in the final trailer, the Batcat trailer in theaters. Yeah, that looks like it's going to be sick. I have faith in Black Adam and The Rock. I just think, if nothing else, The Rock will just power through and carry that thing on pure charisma. But I'm looking forward to the Justice Society, their take on that. I think that's going to be pretty dope. The Flash, I think, could be a major game changer. Like, oh man, it could come down. I don't know if Flash is going to out multiverse of madness, or if Sam Raimi is going to give DC their run for their money. No pun intended, but that's going to be an interesting matchup to watch. Who does their franchise multiverse realignment better, Marvel or DC? Is what we really could have focused this whole thing on.
Well, okay.
This is a whole separate conversation.
That's a whole, you can't just throw that in there.
No. I said we could have focused on that alone.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's movies. I think I've said this in the comments of Phase Zero. I've been saying it to Jim all along. I'm not as confident in this kind of COVID era of the next phase of Disney Plus Marvel shows as I should be. I think not because of the characters or the concepts or the actors, which I think are all great. Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, all look stacked in terms, but just what production things could be done, what could be accomplished. After seeing the end of all these Marvel shows in Phase 1 of Disney Plus, I am lacking confidence in Phase 2 to start off on a good foot.
Really?
I'm a skeptic. I don't hate any of these concepts. I love them all from what I've seen. I think Moon Knight looks dope. I think that Ms. Marvel is going to be like great, and this actress who is Kamala is going to be pull a Kate Bishop on people and really kind of win people over. Yeah, I'm behind all that. I just don't.
Your issue is what? Production? Like straight up
production things. Yeah, I've come to kind of really start to hate these COVID productions because they're really beginning to irk me on what they can and couldn't do or were scared to do. The blocking, the obvious kind of weird things of people in rooms standing across from each other. Like it's, I don't know, but I'm trying to hold the faith. I just think that with DC expanding into things like Peacemaker and developing these other HBO Max things they got, like the Batgirl and the Gotham PD, I think what they're doing is actually starting to feel, based just on Peacemaker, like we said, is starting to feel like it could be very cohesive and well plotted and well executed synergy between TV and movies. Not just like costume upgrades. I feel like the Batgirl movie will be an actual deep character establishing story that then makes Leslie Grace feel like okay if she steps into the main movie universe and is like, I'm your Batman. Look at me. I am your Batman now.
Leslie
like,
Grace is going to kill that role, by the way.
And I think
Absolutely.
that's going to be.
That's
I think HBO Max in a way is just treating that like seriously. I mean, I know Marvel said they're doing this Disney stuff on the cinematic level, but it's still very Marvel TV-ish at points. I feel like HBO Max is going full tilt. But that's just me. So I think DC's TV and synergy strategy is going to be great. I think DC games are going to be better because I don't know what Marvel games are doing this year, but I'll confess I don't know.
So Marvel games, so far as of right now, it is very likely to get pushed. Midnight Suns is coming this year, but at a 2022 date. So we'll see. Most games in 2021 got pushed to 2022. This one I would say either get pushed to like later in the year or maybe 2023. But as of right now, Midnight Suns is the only one that is announced that is 2022 bound, I believe. Because Spider-Man 2, way off. Wolverine, way off. And everything else is like Guardians doesn't have any DLC coming. I don't know why, but that's a whole other topic. So yeah, I don't know what else.
So it's an easy win.
Yeah, DC has Gotham Knights. I feel like Suicide Squad will also get pushed though. So I really think because Suicide Squad also has that nebulous 2022 date, and that one, I just have this feeling that it's going to get pushed. So like it'll be between Gotham Knights and Midnight Suns, and I think while I'm excited for both of those,
we all
lose
give
it to Gotham Knights. I got to give it to Gotham Knights.
So in 2022 in gaming, we all lose. That's the answer. We all lose unless Gotham Knights is the greatest thing ever. We all
it's gonna
lose.
be. Man, that looks so good.
Oh no, I'm excited for Gotham Knights, but it's not. I mean, a whole year. That's a lot to rest a whole year on.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
And I put comics as a draw because I think they're both going to come. I think Marvel has some big events. I think DC has some great titles and events, and I think it's going to be kind of a wash. But that's just me. Matt, would you like to go next, or do we want to throw Jenna? Maybe Jenna's a guest.
Jenna, because she's like Marvel.
I feel like she's
podcast.
prepared too. I know she's gonna have like some.
I'm because you just took me so off of Marvel. Like I really need, I need it in my soul. I feel like I'm the most neutral here. So.
I will say, like, I co-host a Marvel podcast, but like DC is one of my loves. Like I think the whole Marvel DC rivalry is garbage just in its own right, like for a lot of reasons, but for the sake of this conversation, I think they both are going to have a really incredible year just in terms of like movies and TV. I think Marvel is going to have a more consistent year. I think like we kind of saw over the course of 2021 from where we started with WandaVision, from where we ended with No Way Home, just the breadth of like different types of storytelling we could get from Marvel was kind of surprising and unexpected. And it kind of set a new foundation that now I feel like the 2022 movies and shows are going to play off of. I feel like that is going to be DC's year. I think DC is going to have a very transformative and very like definitive year that when fans kind of look back on it, they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, that is the year where so much happened that kind of got the entire DC multiverse in order and like pushed it forward in a way that fans are really compelled by. Because I think the movies are all so different from each other in terms of like what the Batman has in store, what Black Adam has in store, and just the characters that are being introduced in there are just so all over the place and not necessarily ones audiences would expect to see. I am a huge Justice Society fan, so I am still just amazed I'm getting them in live action in any capacity, in a movie. And then like, I think The Flash is going to be so much more important than people are expecting right now. I think that the same way that No Way Home kind of blew the doors open for the Marvel multiverse, I feel like we're going to get that with Flash. And so I think that they're both going to do so well. It's just going to be different levels of success. I think we're all going to be very enjoyed by like and entertained by what we get from Marvel this year, but I think DC is going to kind of blow people's minds a little bit more. And then in terms of games, I'm leaning more towards Gotham Knights than Midnight Suns, so I would say that DC might have a better year in that regard. And then for comics, I honestly don't know. I feel like comic stuff always is evolving and always is going into different directions. I personally really love what they're doing with DC and swords in terms of like building the next crossover. I loved the Infinite Frontier miniseries. I love what they're doing with the Flashpoint Batman thing that they announced today. Whatever kind of big event they're building to, either in this year or next year, is going to be super awesome. So I think that is my personal preference, but I think Marvel Comics could also do something in the 11th hour and really surprise me. So I guess that's my answer for everything.
Janelle?
I mean, she's perfect.
Thank
She
you.
says, I mean, it's
Totally.
I feel very neutral in this because I'm just so
What?
excited to have content. Like
Wheeler.
More
I'm a more-
content.
I'm
Wheeler.
the more content girl. And
Okay,
I'm
so you're
just
putting
so
Doctor Strange stuff
excited.
on the level of everything else?
No, I mean Doctor Strange is
There
the
we go.
best ever. But I just feel like we're gonna get tickled in different places. I don't care if that sounds wrong.
Hey,
Like I feel like Marvel will always be a little more fun and a little more like PG-13, and our DC stuff will really, satisfy our adult cravings and, more blood and more sexual content and things like that. Like I feel really hopeful for both. It's very, very hard for me when you put this up. The only thing I thought of when you like first typed this out was I just hope DC isn't just going to rely on like James Gunn with Peacemaker. Speaking of James Gunn, this is Yondu the puppy, by the way. He like will not calm down. But like hearing Kofi talk about everything that's coming out with DC, I just reframed my whole thought process and I kind of just feel stupid because it's so hard for me to choose.
dude, I realized half of that while I was talking. Don't.
It was really good. You guys have great points.
I will also say the comments brought this up. I totally forgot. Super Pets is also coming out this year.
Yes,
so
it is.
As much as we are getting the like more violent, bordering on R-rated DC, we are also getting very wholesome animated DC. So
DC
I think that's going to be
covers
cool.
kids' faces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Super Pets is gonna
Super
kick
Pets looks
Groot
so
in the
fun.
face.
Mhm.
I'm sorry,
Super
I
Pets
am
looks
Groot.
so fun. By the way, I saw. Okay, so a couple things going off of what Janelle said because I think, and Kofi references too. I think it just depends on what you categorize as success. So if you're looking at straight up box office as far as movies are concerned, I think Marvel will end up. I mean, those two are pretty big hitters, and those two, as long as theaters continue to kind of make their way back and COVID doesn't throw another wrench into that, right? We've seen with like No Way
there's
Home,
a Delta
we've
Omicron super
right,
baby,
but
in
we've seen
Australia
with No Way
pushing
Home that
Wait,
even
real.
in
what?
that environment, $1 billion is, you know what I mean? Like that is actually a number that can happen. And these two movies coming up are pretty big hitters from Marvel. So in terms of box office, it could end up being a Marvel thing. And just DC with the sheer stack of movies they have coming, and if all those hit their dates, then they might actually end up doing better. But it might be a cumulative thing as opposed to like, oh, these two were stronger. You know what I mean? So it just kind of depends. As far as like quality and what I'm more excited about, I got to say I'm more excited for DC's output, and it kind of leans into what Janelle was saying. There's things that I look for. I get more of like this well-rounded thing with DC books lately, like between their Black Label stuff, kind of leaning into that more adult area and more mature storytelling and things like that. And honestly, even lately in some books outside of that Black Label as well, but like especially that. And then you have your regular superhero stuff that's kind of the through line. And like we have the Wonder Woman event that's coming that I'm very excited about. Now, DC did throw me for a loop and get one notch against them when they canceled Wonder Girl, but whatever, it's fine. I'm already starting out on a negative note, so that's not good.
Who wants the most gorgeous book in the world?
That book, look, Yara Floor for life. Like I get annoyed that her show didn't happen, and I'm annoyed that the book got canceled. Whatever. So
we have Brazilians in the comments right now. Brazilians, you guys need to stand. We need your help. Stand up.
I'm annoyed at that.
We need like the entirety of Brazil behind us for Yara Floor.
But as far as in the comics, I'm more excited about, because someone actually mentioned it in the comments that like Marvel tends to be a little more event oriented and DC tends to be a little more kind of leaning into like just like separate avenues of storytelling, and I just enjoy that a little more. But again, I'm still super excited for what Marvel has planned in the realm of comics. In games, look, Gotham Knights all the way. Midnight Suns looks really fun. I'm all about the tactics, gameplay, and the card style stuff, but like Gotham Knights had me. Court of Owls, as soon as that got announced and that you could play as Batgirl, I'm in. I was like, I'm done. And it's like co-op, RPG stuff. So I love that. But as far as movies, I think also someone mentioned it too. Like, I'm excited for the Green Lantern HBO Max series that like hoping to maybe get more of, or maybe even a debut towards the end of 2022. We'll see. But like, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for like Blue Beetle got pushed So like that was something I was actually really excited about as well. Batgirl is like my number one thing from them, aside from like Aquaman, right? Like so they have a lot of stuff, and the Batman genuinely looks really, really good, and I think it will deliver. So like there's just so much to get excited about in DC, and I think Marvel had their cake in 2021 and kind of unopposed in a lot of ways, and I think DC is kind of like, hey, this is a little bit our year, and that's okay. And we've got shows, right? Like Naomi was really fun. I really enjoyed the premiere, and I think it's off to a good start. So like, yeah, I think DC gets it.
Yeah, you got people like Ava DuVernay making, DC CW TV with Naomi, which I also enjoyed. I actually did take a minute and watch that before we started, and I actually enjoyed it. And good lead-in without even much hero reveal yet. So,
right, like they do nothing about, like they touch on so little of like her actual backstory, and like we don't even know what world this. You know what I mean? Like there's so much that like is still open. And I was hooked. I was on. And by the way, Cunning Linguist, I saw that little 13-year-old girl's comment you threw my way. So whatever. I like stuff, and I like different stuff. And it's okay to not like Peacemaker. I didn't like it.
No, yeah. I mean, you do have the sensibilities of a 13-year-old girl, and I mean that in the best way.
Look, I am who I am, man. I have not changed that ever.
No, I mean, that's why we have you. That's why we keep you. I mean, that's why I have you here, man. I need somebody who knows Golden Girls back and forth. By
the way, Golden Palace is on Hulu now, and that show is underrated.
That's true. I mean, that is true.
We're not going to get too sidetracked. Are in a Golden Girls show, man. Come on.
Yeah, I mean Golden Palace is good. We're not going to get into that though. All right, so it sounds like we all have some pretty complex but well thought out answers for what we're going to get in 2022. But I think it sounds like we know Marvel will be the reliable. It'll be its reliable self, but we also think that DC could have a major kind of branding leap forward this year. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens, because I've been burned before, DC Warner Brothers. I've been burned before. I've predicted this and been burned. So hopefully not this year. All right, let's talk about the Book of Boba Fett, episode 3. It was good. I'm not going to get too crazy about it. I'm not going to get too deep into it because I want to get into other Star Wars matters. But yeah, it was good. We got to see Black Chrysanthemum kick some ass, right? Like, sorry, language filters, but Black Chrysanthemum fighting, beating up an entire palace full of people. I mean, that's all I really needed from Star Wars this year, so I'm good. But we got other things. R.I.P. to the Tuskens, I mean, that really hit me hard, and yeah. But this one was just kind of like we're in the middle, right? So this was like the development episode. They threw in some bells and whistles, like a speeder car chase with some flashy bikes that everybody's going to now want to buy, and some street punks that are lovable and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, the highlight of the episode for me was definitely just we got Black Chrysanthemum not only fighting, but the officially name dropped, and so that's canon. Put that in there now. It's live action canon, so good stuff. But you guys, quick thoughts. Book of Boba Fett. Oh, Danny Trejo, so many comments. Yes. How could I miss my man? As soon as I saw that thing rolling up, I was like at my TV trying to like somehow pierce the distance, being like, is that who I think it is? Is that Machete? And it was Machete.
Jim and I were talking at the start of like when the episode dropped on Wednesday, and we were like, this is the most Robert Rodriguez Star Wars episode possible. So you have Danny Trejo, you have like teens with like cybernetic parts on speeder bikes. It's like, this is just so Robert Rodriguez in like the most possible way.
Much. Yeah.
I enjoy this show. I'm not unhappy I'm watching this show, but compared to The Mandalorian, I am still just like, nothing has really happened yet. Like, I am very curious to see what other elements of Star Wars lore they really build in. Like, there's individual components I really like. I love that Sophie Thatcher from Yellow Jackets, who is so good. I love that she is one of the like punk kids that was in this newest episode. I know. I am still just kind of waiting to see, like, what is the end goal here? Like, what other components of the Star Wars universe are we going to have here? Because there's just so much that's going on, but it also feels kind of repetitive at the same time. I'm like, all right, here we are in the Bacta tank. Here we are with a flashback. Here we are going on one errand, and then it just kind of keeps going. So I'm still enjoying it. I'm just curious to see what else is in store.
I mean, and this goes back to what I said about these COVID productions. This one feels very much, it's literally like, Boba goes to the store a couple times and bad things happen each time. And, it's like, I'm enjoying it too, but it feels like they had a limited set to play with and do, and they just kind of had to crunch this one out just to get some Star Wars content going at the tail end of last year and the beginning of this year to bridge to when we get like the real crop of stuff with like Obi-Wan and or maybe yeah. But that's what it is. And I think this is all going to kind of circle until we get towards the last 2 episodes, and then it's going to be every underworld Star Wars character in the world like crammed into one COVID-proof room where you see like Lando, Han, maybe Kira, Black, all the bounty hunters.
I think Damon Streams is right though, because like the comment, I mean that's Mando though. But if Mando, and then it just moved. But Mando, we knew the end goal, right? And so I do think that actually helped, because like there is some of that too in that series of like, hey, like we know that the ultimate goal is to like get Grogu to where he needs to be in that whole thing, right? But then like if you look at the rest of it, it's like, oh, I end up in a cave. Oh, I went over here. Like there is some of that in that series too, but it's not like you have something else to focus on. And also this relationship, right? And with this show, I understand what Jenna's saying, because I'm kind of in there too. I'm like, what are we going? Like, is it all just going to be like, hey, like I set up shop here. No, you set up shop here. No, you set up shop here. It's like that Spider-Man meme. Like everyone just wants this piece of land. And I'm just like, I am kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop of, hey, here's what the show is really about. And it did sway me though with Baby Rancor. That's cool.
Yeah, but like I said, I feel like COVID's a big factor. The Mandalorian can set up a sweeping production across like everywhere in the world to make those episodes, and this just feels like they had a piece of desert and a soundstage, and we're like, do your best. But yeah, we're gonna see. Get to the point is kind of where we're all at with. I like Boba Fett and I like this show and Ming-Na Wen and all this stuff, but yeah, get to the point is the point we're getting to. All right, so we're going to move on to other things that are happening in Star Wars that's going to bridge us to comics. This week was kind of crazy. I didn't expect this week to be this crazy in Star Wars lore. We had some big things going. The new High Republic book is out. I did the review for that. The Fallen Star, which is kind of this crazy action 24 style event episode that in a book form for the High Republic with this pivotal event between the Jedi and the Nihil. The Nihil, I don't know how we're pronouncing that, but we got that's going down. But it led into this week's comics. So the end of The Fallen Star is actually the opening scene of Marvel Comics' new Star Wars The High Republic, Eye of the Storm, which is about the origin story of Markion Ro, who is the leader of the Nihil. And he finally reveals himself to the Jedi in the universe at the end of this new novel. That's not much of a spoiler because the comic's already out, but the comic picks up from that message he's saying who he is and revealing himself, and then goes into his backstory. And that's really interesting. That was a really good kind of origin story because this villain has been here now a year. He's probably one of the most developed villains Star Wars has ever done in terms of like just slow burn, building him up in the books. He has chapters in each book where we see his internal monologue and all this thing. But this comic did a very good job of illustrating it. And I'm loving these Star Wars comics these days, not just for the canon stories, but for how they're taking things from these novels, like especially the High Republic, and giving them visual components to help us really get our heads around them. And Markion Road is terrifying. And this origin story is basically comes from a race of people who are basically Apocalypse from X-Men. They had a planet that had storms and was kicking their butts. And so they evolved to kind of just learn to survive by being selfish and self-interested and screwing over anybody just to get what they needed to survive and thrive. And that's the kind of people they became. And that's the basis of the Nihil. And he is their prize pupil, right? But it's also terrifying because he's got a very Norman Bates aspect to him. Like there are all these panels of what he sees through his eyes. And to him, like everybody's just a walking corpse, his own mother, his father, everybody who works for him, anybody he's like thinking about, he just sees them as walking corpses he hasn't killed yet. This dude's a psycho, and it's a great issue. It's only the first part. There's going to be a second part that kind of takes place. This is his past. There'll be a second part that takes place in the present, kind of during these High Republic books. This guy's found this new mysterious weapon that literally like eats Force Eaters and turns them into ash and kind of really is just destroying the Jedi. And so there's that big mystery, and we're going to get all that. And it's exciting. The High Republic is slapping right now. If you haven't been checking that out, you should. And Star Wars 20 for Marvel Comics actually sees Luke Skywalker, this issue by Charles Soule, who wrote the first High Republic novel. Man, it packs a lot into just a single issue. So let me just try to say this all without sounding like I'm telling Cable's origin story. Luke Skywalker gets a holocron from Yoda that sends him between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, doing his whole Jedi evolution studies, which is this big gap that Star Wars still is playing with. He gets go to this place called the Living Sea of Gaizen, and it turns out to be just a planet that's kind of like Ego. It's a living planet. He steps into this thing he thinks is a field of mushrooms. It eats him, and he gets sucked in these catacombs where he can commune with the Force through a vergence. And he gets to go back to and he meets the Force kind of echo of Elzar Mann, who is one of the main characters of the High Republic, who takes him kind of to this vision of the High Republic and starts telling Luke. They have this conversation, and it's the first time Luke is doing they're trying to justify the Last Jedi thing. It's the first time he's questioning, should I be doing the Jedi Order? This seems all screwed up. I'm like the only Jedi left here, and I don't know anything, and there is no guidance. So like, what is even the Jedi Order? And Elzar Mann's thing is, yeah, bro, screw it, maybe. Like, maybe we're not the only ones. Like, I'm from the High Republic, and we're not the only Force users. And so it's this whole conversation they have. But Elzar Mann, it's just a laundry list of Star Wars canon reveals. He name drops Darth Bane for the first time in Star Wars canon, saying, oh, yeah, we did this after we killed that guy, Darth Bane. And that's like a huge thing because now Star Wars is officially naming Darth Bane. They're putting him in kind of the timeline. He's one of the biggest Legends characters. Now they're bringing him to canon. He was in a Force vision in Clone Wars, but now his name is here. So this might be our Old Republic door opening, because Star Wars comics were the ones who opened the door to the High Republic. That's where you started seeing figures and artifacts and references come in, and then they launched this whole line. Now the High Republic, now the OT is meeting with the High Republic, and they're referencing the Old Republic, and it just seems like we're moving back and back and back. So that's all pretty exciting stuff. And there's a bunch of suggestions that go with theories that, the High Republic, Elzar Mann's also going to be the next Darth Vader. There's all this stuff. So, guys, this is Comic Book Nation. We do comic books. We've been telling you all this in a bunch of geek stuff. We've been telling you, I'm telling you again, if you want some great content right now, you need to jump into Star Wars comics and check out some of these High Republic books and comics as well. It's a great world, and it is exciting. And if you can't stand that sequel trilogy, this is the Star Wars you need to be experiencing. It's much less painful than trying to watch those movies, okay?
Also, get on that Afra train now, because
get on that Afra.
He's going to make that debut.
Yeah, because once Afra comes to live action, it's over. It's over. And then we're going to have to hear everybody like jumping on the Afra train then, and we know who you are. But get in now. So, because Dr. Afra, I mean, that's what gave us the gift of Black Chrysanthemum and so many other things. So, Star Wars comics, that's my stump. Matt, I'm going to sit back now and try to catch my breath. You talk now.
It's so fun to see Kofi excited.
I know.
I love seeing Kofi hype, man.
I don't work out. Wait, let's get Richard in here. Richard, how you feeling?
Richard deserves a moment in the sun.
You got me here with my hat on, man.
We want you. We want the real. You should keep it on. Yeah, we want the real Richard.
It's cold here.
I'm loving Boba Fett, man. I know.
Me too.
It's been mixed reviews, but I'm loving it. I'm like, I guess I'm a little biased because I'm just a Star Wars guy. You guys know me. I love Star Wars, but seeing that Black Chrysanthemum episode, well, not the episode, but episode 3, but seeing him come in and just wreck shit up with Boba Fett and his whole crew, that was wild. I was scared because it startled me.
I thought somebody was dying. I was like, Boba Fett or Finnick or somebody's dying. Like, I was like,
because usually when that back to tank opens up, we don't see it like that with all the water coming out. So you're like, what's going on here? And then you see his big face there. It was a wild moment, man. I'm loving the show. To answer your question, though, man, I love any Star Wars content, but I'm really loving this show so far. All
right, that's Richard. If you don't know, Richard is the mastermind who keeps this show on the rails. He's our producer. He's in the back and kind of keeping things going here, but he is a huge Star Wars fan, and so we drag him out in the limelight to kind of answer for Star Wars and its heights and its crimes. But that was Star Wars. Matt, what other comics are out this week?
Yeah, so a lot of this was hard, by the way. This was a hard week to choose books because there was like a ton that was great this week. And thanks to everyone who votes on the polls to keep our books incoming. So we're going to start with Robin and Batman #3. This is one we've been following on the series, actually the whole series, which is crazy. This is the final issue of this run, though I have to say, after reading this, I really hope they do another small series or even a one shot, because I just loved being in this world. This book, of course, we've been dealing with is Robin's kind of coming into being Robin, and the relationship, the sometimes very dysfunctional relationship between him and Batman, and that fatherly relationship that is also split between him and Alfred. And we see this issue is great because there's a great moment where we see like Alfred scolding Bruce about like his parenting methods and be like, no, he's got to go to school because like you've already been questioned. And like we see that back and forth, and then Bruce finally comes around. Like there's just some really great moments, like Alfred having to wipe the blood out of Robin's suit and getting upset. Like there's just this really cool clash between those two. But then also, you know, we talked a bit about like hope earlier in the episode and like, you know, love and positivity. And there's just, this book ends on such a wonderful high note. It's just Robin like coming into his own, both as a hero and as a person. We see him kind of opening up a little bit. I loved as a tabletop nerd, I loved like them role playing at one point, and like they're doing it at the mansion, and like he's got a group and stuff, and that just shows his own growth of, you know, trying to open up a little bit. And it's okay to be a kid too, even though I have all these responsibilities. It's okay for me to be a person and not just Robin. And there's some great moments between him and Bruce as well. You know, I know Nicole, I always love, like, Nicole hates the Bat Cat thing in Tom King books. And I will say for me, it's the good boy. Like in this book and in this series, there's been this thing of like good boy. Like when Bruce talks to Robin, I'm always like, that just weirds me out. But like, it's fine, you know, like it didn't take anything away from the moment. It's just funny.
Not to interrupt you, I think they're trying to play on the difference between like there's differences when Batman says like good soldier versus good boy.
It's just always reads.
It's kind of a Martha moment. Like,
this is reads weird. I get the intent though, and it didn't pull me out or anything. It's just always something that sticks in my brain. But I adored this. I thought it was a wonderful end to a great series. You know, Kofi, Jenna, what'd you guys think?
Well, as I told you before the podcast started, this is the one that I didn't have time to read because I was reading Doctor Strange.
I didn't read. That's okay. I'll step in. I didn't read Doctor Strange. I really like the Robin Batman miniseries. I think it'll be better when people get to do it as like an entire trade. Mm-hmm. This would be a great kind of trade paperback to just sit down and read for sure in one kind of sitting. But it is. I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. It deepens Dick Grayson Robin's character and the Batman Robin relationship, but in a really kind of depressing way, like in a really kind of deeply sad kind of way. I don't know. For Robin, and just makes Dick Grayson, like, you can see why he has mental problems in the modern times. Like, he's been through a lot, but it makes you really rethink the Batman Robin relationship, but not in a fun way.
Sure.
Yeah. So I don't know how to feel about it, but it was really powerful and good stuff. Like, and the second issue was still the highlight for me.
That's a great issue.
I think it's one of the better Batman Robin stories I've single kind of standalone stories I've ever read. But like, again, it leaves me in a place of feeling like sad about their relationship and not happy about it.
Yeah. No, I get that. Jenna, did you have a chance to read this?
I haven't actually read any of the series yet, but like hearing you guys talk about how great it is, I'm very excited to check it out in trade, like all in one sitting. Because this sounds exactly like my type of thing of just examining their relationship.
Yeah, I always get a little, you know, like, do we need another dive into like early Batman Robin days or even just Batman days? But like lately, you know, there's more hits than misses when DC's been doing this. So I'm very keen to give this one a shot. Next up, we got to move into Marvel. We're going to move into Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, #1, which is also a 3-issue series. This is very much right in the thick of Devil's Reign. So if you know, this kind of takes for granted that it explains a little, but it still takes for granted that you know what Devil's Reign is. It doesn't outright say some things. So like, you will be better off if you've read that. But I still really enjoyed this. I mean, this is more, you know, Chip Zdarsky, Elektra, that Daredevil run has been really great. This is, you know, dealing more with Elektra's like past with the hand, her goal to like take over cut down the hand forever and be done with that. We get a little bit more insight into her past, a little more insight into her relationship with Matt. And there's just like, it is very, if you are interested in that Elektra Matt Murdock dynamic, this is a good issue for you. For me, it ultimately came down to the very end when there's a reveal of like who will be her foe moving forward. that like, and I'm gonna get into spoilers. We haven't really spoiled much in the issues, but we are gonna get into spoilers here because I want to say it. Kraven the Hunter having that thing at the end. Holy cow! I was so excited because like this kind of new this new Elektra versus that, I'm in like for next issue. So I was kind of back and forth on this issue, but it was still really good. But that end got me for next issue. What do you guys think?
I think it did the central job of making me believe Elektra Nachos can be a very compelling character in her own Daredevil mantle, and kind of updating the character for like modern sensibilities and doing that whole thing very well, that I want to get into who she is more. She has the right mix of kind of complexities and issues, but still kind of a strong character foundation. So I think she'll be an interesting Daredevil, and I want to see her rumble Kraven. I was like, yes, at the end of this.
Janelle, what do you think?
Yeah, this was my first comic introduction to Elektra.
Oh yeah.
So I was just eating it up. I was just so excited to get to know her. I literally only have that one reference of like Jennifer Garner. So she's stunning and thoughtful, and I'm just really excited to see where it goes. Like, I know there was a lot of like thought bubbles and things like that, but that helped me to kind of understand her thought process. So as an introduction, if you don't really know the character very well, I feel like it is an okay starting point for me, at least. Like, I know who she is, but I don't know her personally.
Right.
I know that sounds crazy. But I really enjoyed it. Like, this was an easy read for me and very enjoyable. Yeah.
Awesome. Jenna, have you been keeping up with Daredevil?
I have been, yeah. Anything Chip Zdarsky is writing right now is
Pretty
just,
much.
I'm going to dive into it because I'm probably going to love it. I still love this decision so much to make Elektra Daredevil. I have always loved, like, whenever Elektra has gotten some sort of solo thing, like, I love, like, the little mini series where she goes to Las Vegas and, like, all of the kind of weirder things that she's gotten over the years. So it's cool to see her in this context, and the idea of her just 1v1ing Kraven, I'm very excited to see where that goes from here.
Yeah. Oh, so excited. Also, next week, spoiler, we will be talking about Chip's Batman book. And very excited to talk about that because I got all kinds of thoughts. So very, very excited to talk about that. And last book, this was the poll winner. And I was very excited because I remember a couple shows ago, Justice League came up, like Brian Bendis' Justice League came up. And I've been reviewing that and reading that for a while. So then when we got Justice League versus Legion, you can check out the interview with Brian on the site right now, talking all about the issue. But I was excited that this won because I really like this issue a lot. This is very much it's actually not, it's a classic one of those where it's versus in the title. This is Justice League versus Legion of Superheroes #1, but it's really not a versus in this issue. It's very much a familial, like, hey, it's awesome to meet these legends, and you get this kind of crossover both in time and with characters, and so you're seeing them at different points in time, and there's just a lot of like, oh my god, I get to meet Batman type, Brainiac 5 gets to talk to Batman type thing. So if you're a fan of both of these teams, it's just really cool. It's a really fun moment, and then there's an overall kind of through line of this kind of mysterious villain, so to speak. It's not really even really a villain. It's just like this effect that's happening that's like taking certain people out of the Legion's time and putting them into our time. And so you're having the biggest thing that surrounds this is actually Triplicate Girl, who, there's that person is like 3 different people that can merge, but then can split into the 3 different people, and they all have different personalities. They really are kind of like 3 separate people, but they all kind of have the same wavelength. And you have one of them who is plucked away because they weren't merged when this effect happened, and then when they show back up, they're like way older, and so now you're like, okay, well, do we merge again, or what happens to us if we merge with like this older version of ourselves? It's just really interesting. And because the Legion is made up of so many just very out there characters with very out there powers and different planets and things like that, it's just fun. There's a lot to play with. So I really enjoyed this. I am interested to see when we get to the actual versus, and hopefully that kind of happens in the next issue or so, of kind of defining what really the conflict is. But as a whole, I really ate this up with a spoon. What do you guys think?
I read Star Wars. I didn't read this, and I would.
Sir.
And you just described something that sounded like Cable's origin, and you didn't.
I did not. Trivia Girl is not Cable's origin. How dare you? How dare you? Janelle, what did you think? No one else liked it.
I was a little lost, honestly. Like I really didn't know what was going on, and it sucks when I know I have to read quite a few comics because I don't like having to like retrace my steps. I don't like having to keep like going back and going, wait a minute, what happened here? Wait, why is that? And who is that happening to? And so for me, it wasn't as easy to follow, and it was wordy. Like there's a lot of
super wordy
talking.
Super wordy.
So you really don't want to have to double read. I'm not really interested in where it's going. But I
The
will read
voters
it
got it wrong.
Well, I like Strange, right? Like you have your favorite hero and you kind of gravitate towards what is going on. A couple of people in the chat said, like, I don't really like what Death of Doctor Strange is doing. And I get that. Like, it's not my favorite Strange, series, but I like it because it's got my character in there. So I just, there were a few new characters in here that I don't really know. So I have to do this. I have to put in the work. I have to read books like this. But that is what for me, it was putting in the work and getting familiar with the storyline with some of these characters. And there are other books that I can just read. And I'm like, oh, I just love this. Like, so it was it was a little tedious for me.
So,
but I don't hate any comics. Can I just say, like, I get to read comic books. This is amazing.
Exactly. While we have to go, I know we need to wrap. So one, I know you read Doctor Strange. I'm a huge Elsa Bloodstone fan. Did you like that issue, Jenna Blake?
Yes,
okay.
I love Strange. I love magic mysticism. I love every new character that I may not be familiar with. I still love meeting them because they're in my wheelhouse. So yes, I've been super enjoying it, but we can definitely come back and I can tell you my favorite Doctor Strange comics too.
Sweet. Awesome. And that's comics.
All right. That'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. We want to thank Jenna Anderson for stopping by to help promote Peacemaker, and her coverage and her interviews are all up.
Great interview.
Thank you.
Comicbook.com in our video section, or you can check out our DC section for more of our Peacemaker coverage. Jenna is also on Phase Zero, our Marvel podcast, where she joins co-hosts Brandon Davis, Jamie Girac, Aaron Perrine, and anybody else who sneaks their way in, Jim, to that podcast every Wednesday at noon on this same Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook channels. And you can subscribe to Phase Zero on your favorite podcast platforms. We are Comic Book Nation, the kind of general hodgepodge mess of all this Comicbook.com staffing and geek coverage goodness. And you can find us on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube every Friday at noon. And if you missed a live show or just want the audio version, we are on all your favorite podcast platforms, including Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or tell any smart home device to play Comic Book Nation podcast, and it'll just fire it up right there for you. If you like the show, leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to follow us at Comic Book Nation on Twitter. And you can find all of these lovely people online on socials as well. I am at Kofi Outlaw.
I am at Matt Aguilar CB.
I am at Hey, it's Jenna Lynn.
And Janelle is on
Janelle's on
muted
mute.
right now.com.
And I'm Janelle Wheeler. Goodness gracious. You know where to find me, guys. I'm on Twitch too.
It wouldn't be Comic Book Nation if we did not have an awkward ending. You know how this show goes.
Goodness.
So everybody have a good week, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Bye, guys.